Okay guys, first step is going to be to sand your parts. These are original pieces from the dealership for a Range Rover. They're actually black metallic paint, but we have to scuff this up for the glue to stick. This is, I think, 100 grit. It's like medium, and you don't want to lightly scuff till it turns kind of white. You're just scuffing up the clear coat. Making a lot of dust is not good, because if you get dust behind, those are adhesive letters. You don't want to get dust back there. So try to be careful on where you get dust. You don't want to sand the edges. There will not be any glue along the edges. You only want to get the top plane of the letters scuffed up. It's hard to work on these papers, but for the client, the shop that has to install these, I like to keep them as straight as possible on the wax paper when it arrives. Not sure if this is going to focus or just be fuzzy, but it should be scuffed enough to see the scratches. And continue with the next piece. I hold the wax paper with 2 fingers and then lightly scuff with the sandpaper. With our automotive kit, this is what you want to use for doing car parts or exterior surfaces. So inside you get the work mat, which I am using here. Creates a nice soft surface for your crystals to flip on, and also for your tool, your Crystal Katana, to work better with. And you have sanding paper, alcohol wipes, 2-part epoxy glue, part A and part B, 5 syringes, 5 syringe tips in 20 gauge, nice and small for 2-part, and then also a few toothpicks. So today we're going to use, oops, these fell back in here, toothpicks to mix up the glue. And so yeah, we'll have that on the website shortly. Put that aside. And to mix the epoxy, I like to just use scratch paper or Post-it note. Let's move this away. And I'm holding them upside down so that the glue can go into the tip, because it takes a while. It's pretty thick glue. This one's thinner. Part A is a lot thinner. And scissors. You may want some scissors to open this up, because they are not pre-opened. I cut a smallest hole as possible in case you need this for a different. Here we go. Yeah. So the glue is making its way down. Let's get rid of this. So equal parts. Doesn't matter which one you start with. I start with B because it's thicker. And just squish out equal parts. It does not have to be measured perfectly or weighed. Part B. And then part A. Oh, I didn't cut it, did I? Yep. And don't press as hard on this one because it's a lot more fluid. similar size dots or spots. A and part B. Put that back in your kit. And with the toothpicks that are in your kit, just mix it for a couple of minutes till you get the same consistent color. No more yellow, no more clear. It just all begins to be a very, very light yellow color, and it will dry clear. I turn while I mix. I spiral the toothpick back into the mixture to fold it. You can mix however you would like. Just get it all in the same consistency. And before you put the glue, this glue takes about 45 minutes to 90 minutes to firm up. That's the working time on that. And we need our alcohol wipes from the kit. Let's crack this open, because you want to wipe off your letters. You want to wipe off the dust that we created while sanding. Just a gentle wipe to clean them. Get that dust off of there. You don't want dust in your glue. That is it. So those are clean, and the alcohol will evaporate off. So we're done with this, and into the garbage it goes. And something else I needed to get for this. Oh, we have to apply the glue. These are going to be full coverage letters, so we need a syringe. We don't need the cap. You can toss that. This is a 3 ml syringe. This is a plunger. This is the syringe barrel. So you're going to use those together. I scrape the glue off a toothpick. I keep it turning a lot like a glass blower so that the drip doesn't drip off until I'm ready. I add it into the barrel, and then I turn up against the barrel to clean off the toothpick so it's nice and clean, and the glue is inside the barrel. Try it again. Grab all of that, keep it turning, bring it to the barrel, and pull and turn, and it goes inside. Add your plunger inside, press firmly, and then bring it all the way up. And now we're going to use 20 gauge size syringe tips. They're usually yellow. Sometimes ours come in and there might be a pale pink, but this batch is yellow. And this is a slip tip lure lock. There are two little, what I call little Frankenstein hinges on his little neck there, and it's going to just go in. It falls into the thread, and you turn, and it just kind of locks in. It slips on and locks in. You can take them off. Using syringes and tips for 2-part epoxy is a one-time use, because this glue is curing. Both parts were mixed. It's curing inside. You have about 30 minutes to get it out of the syringe, or you lose the whole thing. The whole thing meaning the batch of glue. You will use this syringe and tip. You cannot reuse this with a 2-part epoxy. Sorry, but no reuse on this project. And when I dispense glue, I keep my index finger on the plunger, touching the barrel, kind of this rests in between my 2 fingers. And that gives me control. And then I press with my thumb. And you can pull out. So I'm pushing that way with my thumb to pull that plunger out if the glue is coming out too far from the syringe tip. So you always want to press with your thumb. You have a lot more control. Hold it like you mean it, like you're going to stab something, but don't stab anybody. And then you can begin with adding the glue onto these letters. Now the glue is going to remove the white haze from these letters, and I'm only going to add a tiny bit because 2-part epoxy will end up expanding a little bit. It kind of swells. So let's see. I'm going to get it on here. Just dots and spots. And then I'm going to use the toothpick to smooth it out. I actually want the whole surface covered for this technique. And if you notice, when I started, the dots of glue were pretty tiny. Look how big they're getting. And this glue kind of continues to swell a little bit, and then it as it cures, it just gets really just, I don't want to say it retracts, but it becomes nice and thin and glossy. It's a beautiful finish on it, silky smooth. And again, just kind of, I'm gonna have two rows of size SS12 crystals on these letters, so I kind of concentrate on getting the glue on an outline and then an inline. And I am pressing pretty firmly with my thumb here. See that glue coming out? The glue will keep coming out unless you put a pull back on your plunger going out that way to keep that pressure. Just adding a little more here. And if I have a string of the glue, I flick the wrist and it kind of pops it back down so that you're not getting weird threads and spiderweb glue all over the sides of your letters. There we go. And always keep in mind, wherever you're working, this is wet glue, and I'm moving these letters down here, so make sure your work area is clean the whole time and whatever direction that you're going in. It's easy to lean your arm on it. Don't do that. Put your elbow in the glue. Don't do that. One more. And I have just enough glue left to finish this last letter. So those two little pea-size amounts of glue was perfect for these 5 letters. These letters will be on the exterior of a car. This will go through car washes, snow, sleet, rain, hot Vegas sandblasting highways. And the crystals will be gorgeous every day. Alright, so there's a tiny bit of glue left in here, but again, you can't reuse this. It's inexpensive to get other ones. In order to clean this out, you'd have to clean it longer than it would take you to do all these letters. So I don't reuse these when I use 2-part epoxy. Put it aside. You may need a little bit more glue for something later down the road in the next 20 or 30 minutes, and you could get some more out of there, but we're going to put that aside. And then with the toothpick that you mixed your glue, you're going to come back down here and let me not get the glue in the sandpaper. So there's glue on here, so yeah, get your fingers on it, and it's gross. You just want to kind of paint it on there, just to smear it nice and level and smooth. I'm just barely pressing to smooth it out, not scrape it off, just smooth it out, pardon me. And then, as you see, there was some that I could take off. It is a bit much. And I grabbed the paper that I was mixing on, and again, you can clean off your toothpick there. I like to have a pretty smooth glue coat. So continue that with all of the letters. I won't bore you with each step, but that's all I'm going to be doing. And I just put my thumb in this glue over here, so watch out where you touch. You can just wipe it off on a paper towel, extra alcohol wipes. I usually wipe it on my mat, so luckily the client wants clear crystals on these black letters. It'll be nice and easy to see. Usually when they send in black letters, they want jet black Swarovski crystals, and using jet black on a gloss black surface is so very hard to see. As you can see, there's a glare. The light is creating a glare. It's very shiny, very glossy, and it does play a lot of tricks on your eyes. Black on black is not easy to do, but it sure looks cool. And a pretty good tip, When I know how much gluing I need to do, I put the glue over all of it. I do not like to mix up epoxy and then work over here for 20 minutes and then want to come over here 30 minutes later and have to dip into glue that's been mixed 30 minutes ago. You don't want to disturb the glue. Once you mix it, put it where you need it and then work. But don't dip into old glue, because it's just, I don't like it. And the question is, how do you know how far you can work? That just takes practice. The temperature in your room makes a difference. The humidity in your room makes a difference. This glue, if I was working in a nice hot garage in Florida, it would be about 98 degrees, and yes, 100% humidity, and this glue would go off in about 30 minutes. I'd have probably 5 minutes to prep the area and 25 minutes to work, and it would be stiff. There's not a lot of work time when it's in a hot environment, because two-part epoxy cures with heat, the reaction of heat in the room. I'm luckily working in an office today. The AC is not on, but let me grab. The office today is 77 degrees. San Diego, oh, a little warm in here, 78. My office is by the window, it stays warmer in here. So 78 degrees, San Diego, it's pretty nice. So I'm going to continue spreading out this glue. Now, because it's only been about 5 minutes, now if that happens, did you see how I kind of got off of there? I just wipe it with my finger. This is wax paper. When the glue cures, it's not going to stick to that. That's the fun part of wax paper. It's just hard to work on. Just don't press too hard. You don't want to scrape the glue off. You want to leave it nice, very thin coat. And see how those two lines of glue, once they're smoothed out, it makes just the perfect amount to get from side to side without oozing over the edge, without leaving empty spots. And the question that I asked you a little while ago was how far can you work at a time? I know that I can get through all 5 of these letters within the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes if I have no interruptions. You have to figure out how quick you are. I've done probably hundreds of these, so I know exactly that it should take 30 minutes from start to finish without any disturbances. Phone ringing, packages coming in, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? And any kind of toothpick marks that you have in the glue, by the time you come back to this, it'll be nice and smooth. So as we go back down here, this glue is pretty smooth. I mean, it's not gloss finish like the paint was, but it's pretty smooth. And that's what I like to see. It doesn't have to be, but this is what I like to see. I don't like to move the glue once I've put it down. Alright, so this I keep on here, and if you need another piece for later, another speck of glue for something later, then you just put it aside. Don't put your elbow in it, don't put your fingers in it, just put it aside. If it dries like that, it's fine. Just rip off one sheet and you can continue. So now the fun part. The fun part is going to be opening up Swarovski 2058 SS12 Crystal Clear is 001. There's 1,400 pieces in here. I think I'm going to use all of them because there's 2 sets of these. So I have to do 20 letters. So start with a fresh pack. And I don't put out all of the crystals at a time, especially having to work on this wax paper. It can be a mess. So I only put out a little bit. Put these aside. Alright, here's my tool, Crystal Katana tool case. It's a nice plastic case to store your tool in. Pop that right out of the middle. And here we go. This is the Crystal Katana tool. That's what I use to pick up the crystals. Flatback point back, any shape, most any size that you can't pick up with your fingers, this tool works. Synthetic wax, it's my formula. I molded, I created it, patent pending. This tool has a utility patent on it. It has two ends, the wax end and the detail end with two tips. Today we're going to use the fine point. On another day, if I was using larger stones, you could pop out this adapter and store it inside so you don't lose it, and then you have a larger point to press and secure your stones into the adhesive. But today, since the crystals are SS12, they're pretty good, small, they're small size. Let's move this out of the way. Try to get good posture. You always want to sit nice and straight. You want to be comfortable. You want to have your glass of water or wine, whichever you like. And so I'm going to begin. I also probably will need a few other sizes, but for now I'm going to go ahead and lay in the SS12. Start from the bottom or the top. Let's start from the top. Once the crystal hits the glue, it's going to release, and you should always go back and position them. If you go straight down with this tool, the hole, the opening of this adapter will fit the top facet of that stone, and I usually go straight down on it, and you can grab it and really move it around. But I do like to press a few on and then go back and position them. See if I'm not going to block the camera. And there we are. For this technique, I'm going to use a bit of a different spacing than I normally do because of the background color is black, so it's going to show through, and I don't want it to be so sporadic-y. So this is where the design part comes in. You have to think about how to navigate your surface before you start. So because I've done lots of these, and I'm going to outline this shape for the most part. So I mainly just get them all on. Is there a glare? Can you see that? Not too bad. But sometimes I need to hold it to see a little better. But this glue is wet. The stones will slide. If you were to hold this sideways, they would eventually keep sliding. That is the difficult part of working with two-part epoxy, is it can keep sliding. And that's no good. Nope, get on there. If you get glue on your tip, I roll it and just clean it off on this mat. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, that's all you do. And again, I'm just placing these roughly, and then I go back to position them. Don't want to drag them too far, so if I've opened up a big enough gap, I would put another stone in here rather than grabbing this one and shoving it all the way over. If you don't have to move them, please don't. Perfect. And you have to always, even if you get down to this letter down here, you always want to keep checking on this one because it could move. It could slide while you're not looking, so don't leave and go to the movies. Once you sit down to do this, you have to commit, or the glue will dry, and then you have to sand all the glue off and start over. Oh, sometimes there's two on there. Just pull it off. And because it dropped face down, that means there's glue on that stone. I don't use that stone anymore. It's now into the pile of unusable. If there's too many crystals face down, I roll them with my pinky and they flip right over on this mat. I'm going to choose to not have a gap here, so that will create a nicer fill compared to having a gap over here. I'm going to put a small crystal in the curve to kind of hide it.